Hello and welcome to episode 89 of Fergo and The Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRP. And joining me as always is the glorious League Freak, who you can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going very, very well, Andrew. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Excellent. What's happening in Rugby League?
In Rugby League world even, there's been, it looks like a slow news week.
Very, very slow. I like the way that the journalists have focused on all the things in rugby league that have nothing to do with playing rugby league. It's been fantastic. It's really exposed them for the general shitheads that they are. And there's been no analysis of the game. Hey, I've not seen any analysis of the game.
We will rectify that.
We really will.
One thing that has surprised me is seeing rugby league journalists talking about rugby league commentators and their feud they're having. We're not going to get into that, but I just think it looks rather pissy. I'm not taking sides. I just think the whole thing is not newsworthy.
I agree. I don't care.
No, and I haven't been trolling anyone either.
Nah, neither have I.
Now,
not this week.
There has been some news this week coming out of the Daily M's that Craig Bellamy is refusing to discuss his future outside his current contract and whether he'd actually finish both of the two remaining years on his contract. There's talk he may actually only see out one more year, coupled with Cameron Smith discussing whether he's actually going to, go around again next year. I did see one tweet today. I think it might have been by notorious ice cream salesman Josh Massoud.
Yeah.
And he was saying that if Cameron Smith retires, it might be because of a bunch of Sydney fans who were booing and heckling him a few weeks ago. To which I replied, Wally Lewis played for Australia in Sydney and got booed when he was captaining the nation. I think Cameron Smith will be fine. What do you make of this discussion?
Something tells me that when Cameron Smith is, what would it be, 1,200 kilometres away, something like that, from the nearest Sydney-based supporter, I feel like that he probably feels like that's a good enough buffer zone, and that if he wants to keep playing football, that some people in Sydney are not going to stop him. Like, I just don't understand it. I think that, it was kind of weird. After the game, he was disappointed. He probably didn't want to see football for quite some time, and I would suggest that that's the way every single footballer that's ever lost a finals game feels like. They just don't want to have anything to do with football for a little while. I don't know where that's come from. I don't know. I mean, Craig Bellamy, if somebody said to him, like, you're going to see out your contract, and he says, I don't want to talk about that, I think that that's a pretty reasonable response. Like, they don't have to talk about it. They can just turn up next year and get their money and keep doing what they're doing. And I tend to think that that's what's going to happen.
I agree. Some quotes here. There's only two really from Craig Bellamy. One, he says, it's getting harder coaching. Another one said, at this stage, I'm not sure I'll go on beyond next year. Who knows how I'll feel then? But at the moment, I couldn't guarantee I'll keep going.
Yeah.
That's not really saying anything at all, to be honest.
No, I don't think so. It's interesting he says that it's getting harder, and first of all, that's what she said. And second of all, I think the coaching is starting to get better in the NRL slowly. I think that you're seeing a lot more depth in coaching than you saw maybe even 5 years ago. And so I'm not surprised that it's getting a little bit harder. But yeah, Craig Bellamy will coach as long as he wants to. Like, I don't know. I think it's a non-story.
I feel inclined to want to ask you something, sort of flesh out on this non-story, because that's what it is anyway.
Yeah.
Do you think he fears how he'll be perceived when he doesn't have any of those Smith, Slater, Cronk around as a coach? If Cameron Smith retires next year and he's finally having his first season as a coach with none of those guys there, and the Storm don't do well, like maybe they finish 8th and be out in the first week of the finals, I wonder if he fears that you get those players and coaches who they fear playing that one season too many and being crap.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what's driving that discussion from him.
Yeah, you know what? I would look at two different things. I think that and the thing to remember is these people are like ultra competitors, especially bloody Bellamy. So I would be shocked if he wasn't thinking about that, because that's just the way they're wired. And I don't think it's a criticism of him at all. I mean, you look at all of the great players he's lost over the years, and they're still ticking along. And I say that as somebody that thinks that he made some mistakes late in the season that probably cost him a premiership, honestly. But at the same time, I think for a coach like him that is, he likes to control everything as a good coach does, I think having the system there in Melbourne is his system, and it's like there is no hangover from anyone else's system. And I can see where he might be looking at other alternatives. And I mean, obviously the Broncos is the main one that jumps out, because I mean, if he rang them tomorrow and said, I want to coach the Broncos, he'd be there the following day. But he would have to put in place his system, and that's a long-term commitment. And I wonder if he's willing to do that. You also look at the way that when he watches games, I mean, this is a dude that can be winning the game by 30 and standing up and walking to the back of the box screaming his head off and swearing. Like, he puts a lot into it. Does he really want to be doing that when he's, 70? I don't think that he would.
That's exactly right. It's got to be taking a toll on him, because he puts his heart and soul into every single bit he does in that job.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting there. I think he and Smith will both see out their contracts at the moment anyway.
Yeah, so do I. I really do think that I felt like when you watched the end of that game against the Roosters, and you could almost hear the wheels turning with the journos. They're like, oh, Smith looks disappointed. Maybe it's his last year. Oh, and it just went from there.
Yeah, I say this, and I'm not saying that there's an element of ego. There may be, but I think Cameron Smith would want to leave on a swan song year, or just say, I'm retiring at the end of 2019, 2020, whatever, and actually do something where the fans get to celebrate it with him, because much of what I've seen down here has been him interacting with the Melbourne Storm fans better than a lot of other players have done over such a long period of time. Yeah. And I don't think that him bowing out after a game like that without the fans getting a proper chance to say thank you and turning up for games and stuff like that, to do that, I don't think that's his way. So I think he'd go around for one more year, and he'd announce his retirement at the start of the year or the middle of the year.
When he retires, does Barb get another ring?
It's not anatomically possible, is it?
I'm willing to give her another ring, hey?
Wow. Would it be a bigger ring than the current one?
Yeah. More impressive, because it signals the end, Just give her a big fat diamond.
Or would it replace the current ring? Maybe he could give her a bigger ring and take the previous ring off her, and that could just be put on standby for the next player, or next player's wife.
Yeah. Or you could get one of those rings that stack. Have you ever seen those ones?
Like upwards.
Yeah. Yeah, they stack.
Just put a ring on top of a ring, a rock on top of a rock.
That would be pretty cool. She had two big rocks, two rings. That'd be great.
Yeah. Now that we're having a bit of a laugh, big news. Buzz Rothfield's made a joke.
OMG, what is it? Go on, hit me with it.
This is brilliant.
Yeah.
Brisbane Broncos coach Anthony Seibold was spotted having a quiet beer at the Harbour Beach Hotel last Saturday night while watching the Roosters beat the Melbourne Storm. Here's the punchline. And he was nowhere near the pokies.
Oh. Wow.
Wow. Both a journalist and a comedian.
Yeah. Although I don't think he should give up his day job. He should stick to telling jokes.
I thought his day job was at the bar.
Oh, shit. Oh, man. You know what? The mainstream media has just been so trash It's like they're really racing to the bottom this year. It's terrible.
Here's some more quality journalism because it gets better.
Okay.
He spotted Josh Dugan at a pet store buying dog food.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you're Josh Dugan and you're reading the paper? I don't think you'd read the paper, to be honest with you, but, imagine if he was on a rare occasion and he's like, what the fuck? Who the fuck was looking at me buying dog food?
What's this shit?
Yeah.
I can't even buy dog food without bloody buzz being up my ass about something.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
There's another one.
Yeah.
He spotted Wayne Bennett leaving the ground early after South lost to Canberra.
All right.
Yeah. So that was newsworthy. Wayne Bennett going home.
Going home, yeah. I can't believe that Wayne Bennett didn't just stay in Canberra the whole off season
and party.
Yeah. Canberra is one of the most happening places in all of the ACT.
He could have gone to Questacon.
Yeah, he could have gone to Braddon, eaten some of that fucking food in Braddon out of the trucks, and then he could have
gone to the Dinosaur Museum.
Is dinosaur? Oh yeah, there is, isn't there? I never went there. Right?
It's out near Cockington Green with the miniature gardens.
Yeah,
he could have gone to the miniature gardens and gone around on the little train that goes around all the little places and stuff there.
Oh really? I never went there either.
Oh mate, you're missing out.
He could have.
I'm sure Buzz has been there.
Probably. He could have gone to Fishwicks and got some lap dances from some. I don't know what the word is for people that do lap dances these days. What do they call them? The politically correct term. Adult entertainers. Is that what they call them?
I think Buzz calls them Christmas. Wasn't there a picture of him with a lap dancer at a Christmas party a couple of years ago?
Allegedly, Jesus Christ.
Allegedly. That's okay. We've got a lawyer, haven't we?
Yeah, we do. The good thing is we got a lawyer and no assets.
Absolutely none. All I've got to sell is the microphone here. It's worth about $80, and these headphones, which are probably worth about $5. That's probably due to the red tape I've put on to hold them together.
So the most expensive thing I own is a Thor hammer.
Yeah, that's worth a bit.
Yeah, you ain't get my Thor hammer, let me tell you.
They're going to get out of your cold, dead hand first.
Exactly.
That's if they can kill you first.
Yeah, but they need to stand in line to want to do that.
It's a long line. There's a desperate fight to keep the grand final in Sydney, according to Buzz.
Yeah.
And he said that Premier Gladys Berejiklian and Acting Sports Minister Jeff Lee will come face-to-face with NRL power brokers to discuss plans for the decider once ANZ closes for its $800 million redevelopment. And he reckons that's going to happen on Sunday night.
I feel like there's a big build-up to this, and most people are like they don't mind. If it's played 1 year elsewhere, I don't think anyone really minds. I've yet to see anybody say that it should never be played anywhere else except for journalists.
Yeah. I'm just wondering, where should we take it to?
I reckon we take it to Beijing.
Beijing, mate.
Beijing, yeah.
What if everyone gets on the wrong bus?
Well, it happens sometimes, I've heard. But
that could cost the Rugby League Grand Final, like it cost the AFL, those games, about 50,000 fans.
It would, yeah. There's big buses over there in Beijing.
Mate, they're long buses. They're a good kilometre long.
Yeah. And by the way, hello to all of our fans, our listeners in Beijing. We love our Beijing listener base. It's a big one too. But yeah, I don't know. I don't mind where it's played. Just play it wherever.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'd be curious. I was thinking today, it'd be really interesting if you could actually have a massive grand final gala at Wembley Stadium.
It would be cool.
Have the Super League grand final on, and then have the NRL one after it.
Yeah, I wonder how that would work. Because the NRL grand final, let's think about this. The NRL grand final to kick off for our 8 would have to kick off at their 11 a.m. something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Yeah. Go on, Wembley. Go on, Poms. You know what? If England is still a country, because my understanding is they can't work out what's going on over there. If they're still a country in 2022, whenever the fuck this grand final's up for grabs, they should put in a bid for it.
Absolutely. And the NRL would be mad not to look at it. They'd say, you know what? If you're willing to throw in, say, 20 million for this game, we'll say yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Make it a whack. Make it a proper whack of money. That
Absolutely.
cool.
And then charge the Super League for some of it. You know, we're doing work for you.
Yeah. Next year when it's Toronto versus who will Toronto be playing?
Salford.
Yeah. The mighty Red Devils.
The mighty Red Devils. Before we get into the NRL Grand Final, let's just go through the fact that Salford will be playing against St Helens in the Super League Grand Final next week.
And let me tell you something, St Helens fans, they're terrified because not only have they got a history of grand final chokes, but if you had to say, hey, who could steal anything, you would say someone from Salford. Okay, so if they're going to go in and steal this grand final, they're the team to do it.
It's just primed for a Salford victory.
It really is. It really is. They're going to be doing all
glorious day ever.
Eccles, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, it's going to be glorious when it happens.
I wish I was over there.
Oh man, and people may think we're taking the piss here, but you got to have a look at the Challenge Cup final this year. Saints choked hard.
They did.
It's what they know.
It was a hard gag there at Wembley Stadium, and now, I mean, I tell you what, Salford fans, they're gonna be pumped for this one. Like they're gonna come out of the woodwork, gonna get some, day release and stuff like that. It's gonna be on, and I tell you what, they're not gonna take a backward step to them St Helens fans either. I'm not saying there's gonna be anything going on in the stands, but I don't know about St Helens fan.
If she starts up, someone from Salford's going to end it.
They really will. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, getting into the NRL Grand Final, which is on Sunday.
Yes, you'll be here listening to this on Grand Final day, hopefully.
Yeah. So a bit of late mail. Yeah. Bateman is good to go. And
oh, really?
He's shaken off a severe, vicious, life-threatening head cold.
Oh, really? Wow.
And having suffered from 57 of them this year, I can tell you that's a pretty mean feat he's achieved there.
Yeah, I tell you what, Canberra's the only place that could give a Pom a head cold, eh?
Among many other things.
Yeah. You should have used some of that nasal spray that the Storm players were using when they were in the Kiwi team. Remember that? Cleared their noses right up.
Oh, yes. This is called Candy, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah. Joey Lalua has been moving freely and appears to have overcome his calf injury. So he's set to be playing.
Excellent.
Josh Hodgson, who will be playing as well. He had a bit of a head cold. These pommies must be sharing cups or something. I don't know what's going on. They all got head colds.
What the fuck? They need to stop kissing each other, right?
There's something weird going on there.
Yeah.
Well, Jake Friend has been named on the shortened extended bench, if that makes sense. So they've cut the bench down from 21 to 19. He's still in the 19.
Yeah. I doubt he's going to play. I'd be absolutely shocked if he played.
I wouldn't play him anyway, even if he is fit. Look, Verrills has been playing well. Why change things now when it's working?
Exactly. It'd just be stupid. You know, that's what killed Craig Bellamy this year. And things were going great, and then he switches up the whole team. It's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Exactly right. So, shall we go through the teams?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. For the Roosters, Tedesco, Tupou, Mitchell, Manu, Morris. My God, that's a back line and a half.
It really is, eh?
Keary and Cronk in the halves. Forwards, Maria Hargraves, Verrills, Isaac Liu, Boyd Cordner, Orbison, Radley, and on the bench is Crichton, Tedavano, Butcher, and Torquiaho. Extended bench, Jake Friend and Ryan Hall. Well, there's two blokes are going to be playing in the grand final.
You know what? If Ryan Hall plays for some reason, just say like Morris or someone pulls a hammy, man, can you imagine the Canberra wingers? Their eyes are going to light up. They're going to be like, "Yeah, when was the last time someone got 3 tries in a grand final?"
Yeah. Oh boy, I don't know why they put him there. Anyway, that's just a supremely well balanced side.
Yeah, it really is. And look, they've been fantastic all year. Not too many weak links in that team. I really like their back line, though.
Oh,
It's just such a good back line.
it's supreme. 1 to 7 are just phenomenal.
Yeah, the only weakness I can really see, Luke Keary in defence was really targeted well by the Storm. And if the Canberra players like Joey Leilua and Jack White and can get an eye on him, start running traffic at him, that's going to cause the Roosters a few problems. I think the other thing they've got to do is get up quick on Cooper Cronk. The Melbourne Storm were really good at doing that in the last game, and I think that's what you kind of need to do against this Roosters team. Basically, shut down their ability to link up their back line all that smoothly, because once they get the ball out wide, they're a handful.
Yeah, Cronk especially. I mean, we saw no better shutting down of Cronk than Luke Lewis and Wade Graham in the 2016 Grand Final.
Yeah.
They just had him completely pinned down, and the Storm attack just struggled. It relied just entirely on making meters up the middle, and that's Jesse Bromwich scored a try that way. Mm-hmm. That was the only way they could score points. Cameron Smith was coming out a hooker to play at halfback to try and help things out. So you're absolutely spot on there. They've got to shut down Cronk. That'll isolate Keary, make him easier to defend as well.
Yep. And the thing about Cronk too is he keeps running at that line with his back to the line. Man, if they get him with the ball in his hands, you got to tee off on him. You got to light him up if you're a defender.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to hammer him and keep on him all game. Especially shut him down when he's getting late in the tackle too, because he's got a very, very good kicking game. If they can nail him down late in the tackle count, even just rushing him so he doesn't become the first option to get the ball, that's going to change the Roosters' attack a fair bit.
Yeah.
The Raiders, they've got Chance Nickel-Klokstad, Nick Kotrick, Jared Croker, Lolua, Rapana, Whiten, Caesar. In the forwards, Papali, Hodgson, Soliola, Bateman, Whitehead, Tapany. On the bench, Simonson, Gula, Horsburgh, and Louis.
One thing that jumps out at me about the Raiders, their bench is nowhere near as good as the Roosters' bench. At the same time, Papali up front, he's the best prop in the game at the moment. I don't think there's any question about that.
He's been a beast this year.
He really has. It was interesting in the last game, and people were going off their heads saying, "Oh my God, look at him, he's the best forward in the game," and stuff. And I'm thinking, man, Jason Taumalolo does this every single game. Like, he plays like that every single game.
That's right.
I find it hard to see, and I said this in the last episode, I find it hard to see Aiden Caesar as a premiership winning halfback. It just seems as though he's a reserve grader if there ever was one. And I just can't see him being a premiership winning halfback. I also think that Joseph Manu is going to tear Crocker apart. I think he's going to... I wouldn't be shocked if he scored 3 tries.
That's going to be a really tough area, because Croker is definitely going to be targeted. Manu and Morris have got a lot more pace than Croker as well too.
Yeah.
And they're going to use that to get around him a fair bit.
And the thing about Croker is that he's terrible at reading what's going to happen. So if they get Tedesco out in the back line and they keep getting Croker to come out, and Croker, when he makes a bad read, he just has to turn around and watch what happens, because he's so far out of position, it's all over. And so if they can use Tedesco out in that back line, try and draw him out, and Manu and Morris, they're going to have a field day.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Whiten defends quite a bit wider out on Croker's side to try and remedy that as much as possible, but it's going to be a hard gig.
Really is. I mean,
Stopping
he
Tedesco,
leaves.
Mitchell, Manu, Morris, those sort of guys close to the line when they're all got bodies in motion, because that's what the Roosters do best. Good luck.
Yeah, and he leaves everyone stranded. Like he just leaves everyone a man down. I thought that there's been plenty of teams this year I've thought we're going to target him more, and they haven't. I feel as though it's time for the Roosters to do it.
Yeah. The other thing too is, I'm like you. The bench for me seems a bit lighter, on impact.
Yeah.
And Simonson doesn't come across to me as someone who's a genuine utility back. He seems to be a winger centre, and that's pretty much it. So if Raiders lose a playmaker, any of them, I wonder how they're going to cover for that.
Yeah, and I mean, Louis is a pretty handy player off the bench, but that's it. I mean, he's the only one on the Raiders bench that really, for me, can worry a team. The other thing is, like, if they lose, say they lose Caesar, like, I mean, Whiten as a 5'8", he's not a playmaking 5'8", he's more of a big ball runner.
That's right.
And then you get to that issue of, like, if the Roosters can shut down Caesar just with their defence, like, what are the Raiders going to be looking at? They're going to have to look at attacking around the ruck. That's where Hodgson comes into it, and their forward pack, which is very good, comes into it. But, I mean, man, it's everything's gone well for them this year. Everything's gone right for them, and it could keep going right in the grand final. I've talked to a lot of people, and I've said to them, this reminds me a little bit of Penrith in 2000. Not completely the same, but just the fact that the Raiders have come out, they've had a great season, and when you're on song and they celebrating where they're at, they're pretty happy with where they're at. If everything keeps going in the right direction, it's fine. But if you run into a team that shuts you down, it can go really wrong really quickly, and that worries me about this Raiders team.
Yeah, I think if Caesar gets shut down, that's just going to put a lot more pressure, especially if they can shut down his kicking game. A lot more pressure will come on Hodgson then, because he's pretty much the only other playmaking option they've got on the side there.
Yeah.
So, and given you've got Maria Hargraves, who's very good in the middle as well, that's something that the Raiders need to figure out how they're going to get around that. And I dare say that's where Bateman and Whitehead will come in, trying to protect Caesar as much as they can.
Yeah, you'd think so. I mean, look, it's going to be an interesting grand final. It's one of those grand finals, and it's cool because it's a new team that's in the grand final. I think that's what it is, where you go into it and you're like, we know what we're going to get out of the Roosters. I don't know what we're going to get out of the Raiders, and that's the thing that's interesting to me about this grand final. Because I feel as though the Raiders are either going to be just humming and on song and they're riding that wave home, or they're going to capitulate. And it's what, I want to see what happens. That's why I love these sorts of moments where everything's on the line. And this is why grand finals are so much better than first past the post, because this is the biggest game, the pressure game. How do you perform when it's on the line? And I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be good. And to be honest, too, both sides are trying to overcome droughts that are over 20 years in length. And that is, the Roosters have got to overcome the, back-to-back hoodoo that no team's managed to do since the Broncos in 92-93. And the Raiders have got to overcome the fact that they haven't won a grand final or appeared in one until now since 1994. So, bit of pressure for both sides there, which is good too.
Yeah. Who do you think's going to feel the pressure more?
I think the Roosters will, because there's an expectation that they should win.
Yeah.
And they will be hoping to get back-to-back. And they should be the team to do that, especially with the lineup they've got. And I think that plays into Canberra's hands a fair bit more. They're coming in as genuine underdogs.
I agree, yeah. I agree. And it's, the back-to-back thing, eventually it's going to get broken. We've seen a bunch of times where, the Storm a couple of times I've thought, oh yeah, this is it. This is getting broken now, and it just doesn't. if this Roosters team does it, they've done very, very well. I think the way their season's gone too has been, it would make it really impressive, because sometimes you see the teams that are going for back-to-back titles, they just run out of steam and they sort of come into the grand final, a bit beaten up, whereas this Rooster side doesn't look beaten up. They still look pretty fresh and all that. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see I just hope that if the Raiders win the grand final, that they take the premiership trophy down the highway and drop it off the back of
They have to.
Convertible. Yeah, it's just they must.
And because it's all made of bronze or whatever it is now, it doesn't have that wood base on there. It needs to fall off, and they need to be driving downhill just so you can hear it going tink, 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 tink as it rolls all the way down the bottom of a hill.
Yeah.
Just gets all dinged up and marks all over it. Give it a bit of character. That'd be lovely.
Get some bends in the sucker. That's what we want.
That's what we need.
Make Proven and Summons look like they're bowing down or something. That's what you want out of it.
Yeah. One question. You mentioned this before.
Mm-hmm.
If Canberra wins,
yeah,
who would you say is the most unexpected halfback to win a premiership out of Aiden Caesar or Shane Perry?
Well, I actually was calling Aiden Caesar in a reserve grade game earlier this year. And I remember I didn't give him a real good review in that game either. So, but Shane Perry, man, he wasn't that much better than I was.
He only played 57 games in his career.
You got to say Caesar's probably the more accomplished player, huh?
You would have to, surely.
Yeah, because didn't he play for New South Wales Country or something? Or
yeah.
City? He did one of those things.
Yeah, he has. He's played some rep footy.
Yeah, and his name's Caesar. It's a pretty good name. It's just wasted it on him.
Harsh but fair. Harsh but fair. So I don't know what else we've got to chat about.
What else?
I know something else we've got to chat about.
Yeah.
Big news. Given that we've had all sorts of polls and stuff throughout the year.
Yeah.
People may remember that back about 97 episodes ago, we did our own proper, genuine NRL fans poll, because the one that the NRL had was just pathetic.
I described it as being fluffier than 70s porn.
It was. That was perfectly summed up.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we ran our own version, and we figured what better time than to now to reveal the results.
Yeah, it's good as time as any. So do you want to let's do question by question. How about we do that?
Sounds good.
All right, you go first.
No, you go first, because I've got to
respond. All right, I'll go first. I'm always going first. Okay.
That's what she said.
God damn it. So, first question that was asked in the official Fergo and The Freak fan poll. Do you agree with the NRL's no-fault stand-down policy? So, I agree with it. 63% of the vote. I do not agree with it. 29% of the vote. And I don't care. 8% of the vote. So, vast majority agrees with it, which kind of surprises me.
Yeah, it's I thought it kind of goes a bit against, a fair bit against the way actual law works.
Yeah,
you have to be found guilty first before you have to stop working.
And I know you and me don't agree with it, but I guess this answer that we've got out of this poll shows that we're not crushing our listeners enough. I mean, the whole idea of this is to crush all of their opinions and make them just listen to us, because we are the voice of the game.
Yeah.
So we've got to work on that, obviously.
We do. Should players who receive a head knock worthy of a HIA not return to the game at all? And 65% said keep the current HIA system in place. 32% said they should not return to the game, and 4% says I don't care. Again, I've been pushing strongly all the time that they shouldn't return to the game.
Yeah, so, you know what? I think that in the finals we have seen that the HIA system doesn't work at all.
Agreed.
It's just there's too many. It's been used to slow down play. It is being used. How many times do you see the attacking team say, wait, stop the play. We've got a player that's got a head knock. You never see it.
That's right.
And so I think there needs to be some changes just in that regard. But we've also seen players, I think it was last weekend, Josh Hodgson, he was face down in the dirt and he played for the rest of the game, which, it shouldn't be on. So I think we're ready to see some changes to that system.
And as I'd said before, and it's the only way you can find a way to stop teams from abusing the system is to have a mandatory 1 week stand down for a player who goes off with a HIA. So they go off. Doesn't matter if they pass the test or not. They're still not allowed back onto the field, and they have to miss the next game. And I think that would get rid of the teams and players abusing that system. The problem then comes up that clubs will then force players to stay on the field after they've had a concussion, mild or not. And so you need to find a counterbalance to that somehow. It's a difficult thing to be in there.
Well, it makes you wonder, say, first minute of the grand final, Cooper Cronk gets blasted and he's just fucked. But he gets up and gets back in the line. What are the chances that the Roosters are going to take him out the lineup, Yeah. And I'm not casting any aspersions on the Roosters. I think that you could say that with any team in the grand final. And I think that the player that cops a head knock, it's the biggest game of the year. They're going to tell a trainer to go away. They're not going to let themselves get a HIA on the field.
That's right.
So, yeah, I think it's a system there's a bit of window dressing, and I think it's broken anyway. So I think they need something different.
Yep, especially if they want to do this job properly.
Yep, 100%. Okay, so next question. Should the Australian Rugby League Commission also be under the watch of the NRL Integrity Unit? 87% of people said yes, they should. 9% said I don't care. And only 4% said no, they should not. So that's pretty overwhelming that people think that the ARL should be under the watch of the NRL Integrity Unit, which is good to see.
Of course they should. Makes complete sense.
Yeah.
Next one was, do you think the media is too negative when reporting about rugby league? 86% said yes, 13% said no, and 2% said they had no opinion.
Yeah, I think the yes vote is a little bit low.
Likewise.
I think it should have been 100% said yes.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking obvious. The only time of the year when it's not completely negative is grand final week, as we're seeing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many fluffy stories have we seen this week?
Yeah, there's been some that have come out where it's like, really? They're going with this angle? And none of them are talking about the actual game, which is really weird to me.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, all of this fluffy bullshit, none of them are actually analysing the game. So it's kind of weird, I find. Next question. Which section of the media is the worst in regards to its coverage of rugby league? Print media / newspapers, 69%. Nice. Television, 17%. Online blogs, 14%. And only 1% said radio, which surprises me a little bit because whenever I chuck on the radio to listen to some football, and not so much Triple M because I think Triple M's coverage is pretty good. Whenever I listen to other stations, it is fucking garbage. Apart from 999 Sports, which I'm on. Soiree.
I think though with radio though, they don't have the benefit of pictures, so they kind of just by the medium itself are forced to move on after a situation happens. The fact that they will still bitch about it though, that's just horrible for what they're doing. TV, and we've seen it more and more as the season's gone on, especially Channel 9. They are getting impossible to watch, and the cynic in me says that they're doing this shit intentionally, talking the game down, making it hard to watch, so they can try and push down the rights. Say, oh look, people aren't watching anymore, so we're not going to pay as much for it. I hope if that is the case, I hope the NRL sees right through that shit and says, no, now, because you've been talking it down, you've now got to pay double.
But how much, like even Fox Sports, right? How much of Fox Sports, so when they're not showing the games, how much of that has got worse this year? The other stuff, I mean, like their panel shows and stuff.
The last 2 years, NRL 360 has gone downhill immensely.
Yeah.
So when it first started, and it was still Ben Eichen and Paul Kent there, it was just 1 day a week. And so they had to cram a lot of news in there. And because of that, it meant that they didn't have much time to sit there and bitch and moan about the same thing 3 times a week. They had to just sort of get in there, say their bit, move on to the next news story. And that actually made it a genuinely good show.
Yeah.
But then they took it to 3 days a week and brought in more and more, crisis merchants.
Yeah.
Is the word I'd like to use. And so they all sit there beating the same fucking drum. And it's just, the game is shit, the game is shit. This is why, this is my opinion. It's the same boring, monotone, drab dribble every fucking episode. It is so hard to listen to. It's ruined what was once a really good show and a really good setup. The other shows on there, they're not so bad. The Matty Johns one, it's a bit samey. The rest are fine. I don't mind League Life. It's actually pretty good. Some good journalism goes on there, and they actually have decent guests on, ask genuinely good questions, and they're not fluffy crap either. They actually ask properly hard-hitting questions on there, so it's pretty good. I like that one. Not much else on there, really. I'd like to see a bit more analysis. And Michael Ennis does some pretty good analysis on there. I'd like to see a bit more of that. He only does a little bit, in like a half-hour show once a week or so, I think, from memory. So they need to get back into doing more of that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it now I just can't watch. It's just, I watch TV or everything I'm doing, I want to be entertained, and when I'm watching something and it's it makes me angry or something. It's like, why am I watching this? I'd stop watching NRL 360 because it was like I'm just arguing. I'm yelling at the TV.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be like that. I'm just not enjoying it. When, as you say, when NRL 360 first started up, and it was a little bit different. It was something that was different to what we've seen, and now it's just another. Our next guest is someone that's dying. Our next guest is someone that wakes up angry in the morning. Our next guest has no friends. Our next guest is all those wrapped into one. How you doing, Bulldog Richie? And it's like, I just don't want to watch that.
Yeah, I mean, I got to the point where I was watching it for the comedy value of Paul Crawley alone, just watching to see what he says this week to try and make sure that Paul Kent stays as one of his friends.
Yeah, just hate watching it. And when you start hate watching something, like it's a fine line between I'm enjoying hate watching it or I'm just fucking getting pissed off for an hour every week.
That's right. Yeah, it's difficult to watch.
It really is.
Right, what's the next one here? Is the punishing for breaching the salary cap severe enough? No, it's not. 77%. Yes, it is 15%. I don't know. 8%. It's not severe enough. We've seen too many teams breach the cap and within 1 or 2 seasons come back and play in a grand final. Some cases win it. To me, that's not a big enough penalty.
No, and it needs to be. I think it's a penalty that needs to stretch over 3 years. Like if you lose $1 million off your cap over 3 consecutive years or something.
Yep. Absolute minimum. Definitely.
Yeah. So the next one. How do you think the NRL judiciary has performed in 2019? 41% said shithouse. 29% said average. 22% said poor. Only 8% said good. And 0%, no votes at all, said very, very good.
Right. Well, this is the thing. Some of this is going to be dictated by the mainstream media because they like to bitch and moan about things.
Yep.
I wouldn't say shithouse, but I'd say they've been average to poor. Just in the case of, I'd lean towards average because I think there's been a few cases where they should have dished out suspensions, especially for eye gouges. Josh Maguire comes to mind. George Burgess did not get a long enough suspension either.
Yep.
Those things need to hit hard on that, and they should be looking at, minimum 16 weeks or something like that. They need to get hard on that shit because that has zero place in the game. We can't go around giving people fines or 8-week suspensions. That's nonsense.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. I agree. I would say average as well, and for the exact same reason. I think that for the most part they did all right, but those grubby plays, those eye gouges and stuff, they're going by the framework that they can work within at the time. I think that once, and I'm not saying that they're even going to look at it, but if they looked at the points that are on offer, if you get found eye gouge, and if they bump them up by ×2 even, I think that would be great for the game.
Imagine if they said that, okay, the minimum points loading you get for an eye gouge is 1,600.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
You're going to fight that? Should fines for misconduct on the field be scrapped for longer suspensions? Yes, they should be scrapped, 51%. No, keep the fines in place, 43%. I do not care either way, 6%.
Pretty close, this one. Look, I tend to just like the flat-out suspensions. I think the fines are bullshit.
Agreed.
Okay. What is the worst stadium in the NRL? This is a good one. So, Asbestos Oval at Brookvale. That got 40% of the vote. The Sydney Cricket Ground got 28%. Belmore Oval got 13%. Leichhardt Oval got 9%. Cogra Oval got 5%. Penrith Football Stadium got 3%. And Campbelltown Stadium got 3%. So, Brookie Oval, that overwhelming win there.
Yeah, no surprises there. I mean, not only was it just a park that dogs went and crapped on during the week, it's now got asbestos in it as well. I mean, it's hard to rate that high, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's played on by a bunch of pricks.
And in Manly.
Yeah.
Sorry, Nadine.
Manly. It's Blacktown by the coast.
Where do you go to for your rugby league news? Social media, 42%. Other, 17%. NRL 360, 15%. NRL.com, 13%. LeagueFreak.com, 7%. Beating the Sydney Morning Herald, 4%. The Daily Telegraph, Courier Mail, 1%. And 100% Footy, The Footy Show, 1%.
Yeah, I made those last ones my bitch. My website.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If we look at the total votes here for the Sydney Morning Herald, the Telly, the Courier Mail, 100% Footy, The Footy Show, it still works out as being 2 votes less than what LeagueFreak.com got.
Exactly. LeagueFreak.com, your number one source of rugby league news. For
you
7% of you anyway. Thank you to everyone that put that one. That was very nice of yours.
You're welcome.
That reminds me, I've got to send some SMSs to my family members for voting on that one.
Social media, though, 42%.
It's where I get most of my news from. How about you?
Well, yeah, I agree. The only reason why I go to the Daily Telegraph is to get content for this podcast.
Yeah, to take the piss, yeah. Like, that's the only time that I even look at it is when it's like, oh, let's chuck in something to take the piss out of when I go to the Telegraph site. I'm like you. The Sydney Morning Herald one, I'm going to less and less because I'm finding it's got that Channel 9 slant on it where, everything seems to be loaded with whatever Channel 9 wants you to think. NRL.com is pretty good, I've got to say, for just footy news.
Yeah, and to be honest, it should be, though. Mm-hmm. It should just be the fluffy stories, though. Leave all the crappy gutter stuff for, those newspapers that always write about it.
It's good for injury news and just like, who's in, who's out. Every so often they'll have some decent news in terms of players moving clubs and stuff. I think they try and avoid that sort of thing, though, because they are the league. And it's, it's not journalists, it's comms people. I love saying that. Because if you're all listening, you're not journalists. You gave that hat up. You're just a comms person.
I'd argue that a comms person is ranked higher than a journalist.
Oh, a comms person has a soul. A
Yeah.
journalist is a low-life, bottom-feeding fucking scumbag.
Can't argue with that. Do you think rugby league journalists do a good job? No, 62%. I can't decide, 24%. Yes, 14%.
I love the I can't decide beat. Yes. Indecisive people were better than yes. That's great.
So what we've learnt there is that 86% of the people are not convinced that rugby league journalists do a good job.
Pretty much. I got to
That's
agree
pretty
with them.
compelling.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Next one. Should the Gold Coast Titans stay where they are, be relocated, or axed completely? Stay where they are got 48% of the vote. Relocated got 36% of the vote. And axed got 17% of the vote, which is pretty full on.
Yeah, that's higher than I thought for axed.
Mm.
And I'll say this: I know I've talked about relocating the Titans a few times on the podcast, but I'm someone who's generally opposed to moving clubs around or axing clubs and stuff like that, unless there's a genuine need to do it to keep the club alive.
Yeah.
And the only relocation idea I've thought up for the Titans was just to move them a few, 100 k's up the road to southern Brisbane.
Yeah. Yeah, I tend to feel like just leave them there. That's my point of view.
Should a city-based club be relocated? None of them should be relocated. 33%. The Sharks, 29%. The Tigers, 13%. Roosters, 11%. Manly, 6%. Dragons, 3%. Bulldogs and Eels, 2%. Penrith, 1%. And South got 0%.
Yeah. Sharkies, hey? How about that?
29%. Mind you, 33% said no relocations, and that's where I sit too. I don't think we need any more Sydney teams, so I don't think we need to cut any either.
You know what? I feel like the axe is coming. I feel like in 10 years' time we'll have 2 less Sydney teams. Yeah. It's just a feeling.
The thing is, though, I don't think it's going to be teams on the outskirts. I think it's going to be teams in the middle somewhere, like Parramatta, Canterbury, South, Roosters.
Yeah.
If it's going to come, it's going to come on those teams in the middle because they're fighting over, a lot of area that's, bordering on other spots. I think the Sharks have set themselves up to be financially viable.
Mm-hmm.
Manly's got that whole Northern Beaches area there that no one else is tapping into, really.
Mm-hmm.
Penrith and the Tigers have got massive regions. It just means that those other sides, I mean, the Dragons, I think, would be smart to try and draw more out of that Wollongong region, Illawarra Wollongong region. And that's not going to go down well with Dragons fans, but I just think if you're long-term future, you need to look at having the biggest catchment area you can possibly find. And I don't think inner Sydney is going to be doing that when there's a heap of teams fighting over, a lot of areas in small spaces.
And can I say, I went to Cogra a few weeks ago for the lower grades. The parking there is so fucking ridiculous. Like, the idea that you can have any national competition where there is just no fucking parking is outrageous.
Same at Leichhardt, mate. Same at Leichhardt.
See, I've never been to Leichhardt before, so
I love the ground, but you can't park anywhere around it. It's just residential street everywhere.
Yeah, it's just silly. Like, we can't be doing that. We can't be doing that. It's there's got to be some bigger thinking in rugby league, and unfortunately, it's rugby league, so it's all small time thinking. But yeah, interesting results. It's interesting that the Sharks are always pretty high up near the top.
Yeah. I think people just hate on them because of all the misery they've put the game through in recent years, and then to win a premiership on the back of all of that sort of put a lot of people off them, I guess. Yeah,
with the Asada scandal, the salary cap breaking, the coach.
Same sort of reason why a lot of fans are off Melbourne. They were always seen as a novelty sort of thing, and no one was even hating them after they won in '99. But once they broke the salary cap and there was, all the wrestling stuff was going on, people just going, don't like these grubs anymore. And They're hard tags to shake.
They really are. They really, really are. Next question. Should the NRL bunker be able to make calls on forward passes? Yes, they should. 62%. No, they should not. 35%. And I don't know, to be honest, 4%.
Very polite, that last one.
It really is. I started doing a little bit with the undecided idiots amongst us. Like, who goes on a poll? I don't know. Like, fucking, make it, pick and stick. Come on.
62% say yes, they should. A part of me kind of leans that way. I think if you're going to have a video referee there and you want to get the right decision, then they should be able to adjudicate on the final, the passes leading into that try-scoring play. Not going back a tackle beyond that. But even if a referee says, "Look, I think this pass might be forward, can you have a look at it?" I think that's fair game.
I would like to see the video referee removed from as much of the game as possible. If somebody said to me, "You're in charge of the game, League Freak, and you either have to choose between having the video ref involved more or no video referee at all," I would go no video referee.
Well, I've always said I like the format they had when they first brought it in. And that is, you're just looking at the grounding.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much it. And if they didn't know, it was ref's call, and the ref just decided on the spot. I don't like this, the refs make a decision first up, because it adds a bias one way or the other for the video ref. Because, he's going to say, if I can't find out, then it goes whatever the bias is there. And I just think they should just go up to video. If you look at it, you tell me if you can find it. If not, then I'll go back and I'll decide. And keep decisions out of it until that last point, and just let the on-field ref make that last decision if he needs to. Should a free play be allowed in the NRL following a turnover by the opposition team? Allow a free play 43%. Do not allow a free play 38%. I am indecisive 18%.
Oh shit! So I can see the merits in the free play, but I kind of like that. Once you've taken your advantage, you've taken it as well. I kind of like that. So I would stick with what we've got.
Yeah, if they brought in the free play rule, I wouldn't be opposed to it. But yeah, I'm happy with the way it is at the moment.
Okay, next question. Do you think 8 p.m. kickoffs are too late for school children?
And mums.
Yes. Yeah, this is one for mums with kids. Yes, too late, 75%. I have no kids, 16%. No, it's fine, 9%.
Pretty clear, that one.
Yeah, it's just too late. Yeah, it's too late.
Stupid. Who is the best player in the world?
Ooh.
James Tedesco, 35%. Cameron Smith, 29%. Jason Taumalolo, 11%. Other, 8%. Cameron Munster, 5%. Gutherson, 5%. Mackinson, 3%. RTS, 2%. George Williams, 1%. I'm a spineless gimp who can't make up my mind about anything, 1%. And Blake Austin, David Fafita, and Sam Tompkins all got 0%.
To all those pricks that picked Gutherson and Mackinson, fuck you. This was a poll that was meant to be a real poll, and you fucking blew it.
That's 8 people, by the way.
Yeah.
We will find your IP address.
Yeah. I'm not even mad at other. Who would other be? Can you think of any other? Coop Cronk?
Aiden Caesar.
Mitchell Moses. Sevo.
Corey Thompson.
Tim Grant.
Legend.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I can think of. Interesting. James Tedesco first. Cameron Smith second. Hey, that's interesting.
Yeah. Taumalolo, only 11%.
Man, I feel like people sleep on Taumalolo. I wonder if it's something to do with them not being on free to air that much, eh?
That's a good point. That might be the case.
Yeah. All right.
Last one.
Yeah. Who's
All
doing that
yours.
one, me or you?
All yours, mate.
Okay. What is the best podcast in the entire world? So, Fergo and The Freak got 36%. And then As Above got 64%. And the As Above was Fergo and The Freak. So we got 100% of the vote, which is
Tidy.
it's pretty good.
Tidy.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard work podcasting, as we saw on Twitter. Some sheltered crybaby was talking about how hard it is.
Yeah, who was it that was... Oh, that was a couple of months ago. Yeah, where there was
some
you
winter.
don't remember all the work that goes into it. And we're sitting back going, man, are we fucking missing out on something here?
Yeah, we go click, 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 talk.
On the last episode that I did with Nadine, at the end of it, you hear me going, let me find where to press stop recording, and we'll see you next week. Oh, shit.
That's the level of professionalism I bring into the show. I know where the button is to press stop recording.
Yeah. Tell you what, it goes
Hard
hot.
work.
Yeah. So I think that's everything. It's a pretty good rundown leading into the 2019 NRL Grand Final.
Want to do tips?
Yeah, I'm going to tip the... I can't tip the Roosters. I'm going to tip the Raiders to win by 9 points.
Oh, I'm going to tip the Roosters to win by 14.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I think when Canberra beat the Melbourne Storm those two times, I think the Melbourne Storm had a few places where they had some weaknesses, and I don't see the Roosters having those same weaknesses.
Yeah.
It's going to be. I don't know. I want to say this. I'd love to see Canberra win.
Yeah, I think it would be good for the game to see a different team take the title. I think it'd be great for rugby league in Canberra. I think it'd boost their I think they're going to get a new stadium. It's probably going to be in Civic, which will be great for the team. But I think that would get that ball rolling a lot quicker and make sure that stadium's a rectangular stadium as it should be. Yep. So I think it'd be good overall for the Raiders. And yeah, it's been a long time since they've won the title, and it'd be cool to have the Canberra Raiders as one of the big guns again. So
absolutely,
it'd be awesome if the Roosters win it. It'd be like, yeah, whatever, next, bring on the internationals. So that's kind of the way I look at it.
Yeah, I've got a few reasons why I want to see Canberra win. One, it means we'll get Greeno on the show.
Yes.
Two, it means the drought, the longest drought, premiership-wise for any current team, will be Parramatta's by an even more immense margin than it currently is.
Yeah.
Because I think there's only, 8 years or so between Canberra's and Parramatta's droughts.
Wow. You know what? You're right.
So if Canberra wins, that drought is going to be massive.
How weird is that it's only that long between their droughts, but in 1994, the Eels being premiers was like a lifetime before that.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
You're looking at pretty much essentially Parramatta side that barely has anyone who was born when they last won a premiership, and I love that fact.
Yeah.
Sorry, Parramatta fans.
You're not sorry. Why do you love piling on Parramatta? Why do you hate Parramatta so much?
I've got a few relatives who have been Parramatta fans, and a few friends as well from back in the day, and they loved giving it to me during the 80s and 90s about how great Parramatta was.
Oh, really?
And even though my team has only won one premiership since 1969, that's only half the team that I supported as a kid. It's still won more than Parramatta's won since 1986.
That's true. Man, karma's a bitch. They were giving you heaps, eh?
Yeah, big time.
God, I remember...
Because my team choked in 2 grand finals in a row, and they're like, oh, we won 3 in a row in the early 80s, and then we won another 2 after that, or whatever it was. And yeah, whatever.
See, I
Good
remember in
Lord.
high school, my friends were Parramatta Eels fans, so I went and watched some of the fucking worst Parramatta Eels teams they've ever had, which is saying a lot. And then when they spent all that money to get all of those Canterbury players, and they'd spent like millions and millions of dollars, it was a ridiculous amount of money. And I was still able to give them shit because they still couldn't win anything. It was great.
But if Parramatta does get into a grand final next year, for example,
Yeah,
and they're up against, say, Melbourne or Manly,
yeah.
I'll be cheering for Parramatta. I'll even be cheering for Mitch Moses
Wow, really?
and Clint Gutherson.
You know what's weird, and you'd feel this definitely. Like 2003 for the Panthers for me, it's been all right. Yeah, I got my premiership as an adult. I got it. I'm cool forever, right?
Yeah.
But now it's starting to get to be like, yeah, that was a while ago now. You know, they're about due. You'd be feeling that too for the Tigers for 2005. I mean, it's not too long ago, but it's starting to get there.
It's long enough ago.
Yeah.
I look back on that now and go, holy shit, that's 15 years ago.
Yeah. It's weird,
That's a long time ago. You see, I'll sit here and do stats sometimes for some articles, and I think, I'll just go from 2000 to now because that sounds like a nice, good round number to work from.
Yeah.
I start working and going, holy shit, that's 20 seasons. What am I doing?
Yeah.
2000 doesn't seem like it was that far ago. It's 20 years ago.
Well, I remember when, I think it was 1999 that the Panthers got the wooden spoon. I think it was about then. Was it 99 or 2001? Might have been 2001. But I remember back then thinking, man, it's been forever since we won a grand final. And it was only like, say, 10 years. And now, like, I don't feel the same way. I don't feel like, it's been more than 10 years since we won a grand final. I'm still cool. I got my title as an adult. So I think that helps. But, yeah, it's starting to get there now, though.
It does. I was going to say, we should probably rename this section to Reminiscing with Old Men.
We're dying.
Back in my day.
Back in the good old days.
Way back in the early 21st century.
Text.
You had to press a button 3 times to get the letter C.
I remember the good old days on MSN.
ICQ.
Can you imagine? It's going to be weird when, when we're really, really old as fuck, you know, like Rothfield and all his mates, and we get asked about what it was like growing up, and we're talking about fucking we remember the first iPhone, and they'll have chips in the side of their heads. Their thoughts will be beamed on the bedroom walls and stuff like that. Sick shit.
It's seen already with my daughter. Like, she come in and she'll see my computer and she immediately goes to touch the screen to touch things on there. And I go, not everything's a touch screen. Slow down, wait up.
Yeah, touch screens. I remember when they first. We can't do this. This is fucking bullshit.
Yeah. We're getting old. That's all we're saying here. We're old men getting older.
Old men. Oh.
We're not that old, but we sound like it's banging on about 2000 and whatnot.
Talking about 2000. I wonder who our oldest listener is. Here's the thing. If you're over the age of 50, send us an email. Get one of your fucking grandchildren. Send us an email at podcast@leaguefreak.com. Tell us how old you are. We want to find out how old our oldest listener is.
I was just thinking, like, my grandparents and my great-grandparents would talk about how they, what went on during the wars.
Yeah.
World War One, World War Two. We're talking about the Super League War.
Yeah. Back in the Super League War.
Back when I went through the war.
Yeah. Our wall, fucking Michael O'Connor crawled through a window. That was the big disgrace. That was that would be our war crime.
That was the low point.
Yeah. The low point. They won't. Our grandkids will never ask us about wars because by then, like, we've grown up in an era of perpetual war, and that's kind of weird. Like, that's still fucking in Afghanistan and bloody Iraq and shit. That's still going on. So by the time we have grandkids, they're going to be like, oh yeah, fucking war happens all the time.
You could say, well, I remember when the second one started.
Yeah.
Look, the second one? Wow.
That's incredible. We're already on the fifth one.
Or 45th one.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'll be when we're all eating artificial meat and all the dolphins have choked to death on fucking ring pools and shit, and all the all the turtles and tortoises have snuffled up all of the fucking straws, the plastic straws.
Oh dear, it's a
I
bad
got a
future.
question for you, right?
Yeah.
Everything in nature has its place, right?
Uh-huh.
Everything does a job. What the fuck does a turtle do?
Becomes a ninja.
Oh, you got me. Okay, good answer.
There we go. There's another old person reference.
Yeah.
Well, on that rather uplifting note,
Mm.
thanks for tuning in, and I've just got to find that stop recording button.